So I thought I'd open up a little bit and talk about dating post-divorce. It's a big topic, and many of you have been asking me for a long time to talk about divorce and all of that. And for obvious reasons, there's a lot that I can't share on YouTube, but I do know that there's many of you out there like me who have gone through a relationship. Maybe it wasn't marriage, maybe it was a long-term relationship, and maybe you're a parent and maybe you have so many responsibilities as a mom or a dad, and it's hard to know, how do I put myself back out there? How do I find time? How do I find energy? How do I find the self-confidence? And so I wanted to talk about that journey, what that's been like a little bit for me. I went through a divorce that was finalized in 2023, which is wild because I'm approaching the 2-year anniversary of my divorce. I never thought, like, the way I was raised and what I knew about marriage and what I wanted for marriage and for myself, if there was anybody that was going to get a divorce in this earth, it would not be me. I never thought that this would be me. I guess I've always believed that if you work hard enough, it'll work out. And that wasn't the case. I can't, I'm not going to go into all the details there, but um, I did do everything that I knew how to do, because obviously my kids are my priority and this wasn't the life that I wanted for them. But what I realized that I wanted for them more than staying together with their dad was for them to see a healthy, vibrant, fulfilled version of me. And I wanted them to see a healthy, vibrant marriage and relationship to model their own future relationships after. And that's ultimately, I guess, how I found myself here as a divorced mom with 2 autistic kids. I wanted them to see a happy, healthy, fulfilled version of me. And I wanted them to have a healthy, happy, fulfilled relationship to look up to. And I wasn't in that situation. And so again, it's hard to know what to share online. But I will say, even though I thought divorce was like the worst thing, one of the worst things that could happen to me, I actually truly feel like it's one of the best things that has happened to me. And again, it's about 2 years post-divorce, but it was longer than that since we've separated. And I feel more myself than I ever have. It's been really interesting because after the divorce, I feel like my life has just, it's like, I don't like to use the phrase glow up, but I've just felt like my life has had a glow up. My business is thriving. I've been traveling more. I updated my wardrobe, which you can't tell right now because I'm super comfy and I'm actually wearing, many of you have probably seen me wear this, but this is my comfort sweatshirt and it has like 7 pockets, maybe more than that. What did I say? I can't remember, but I have a link in the description if you want to check it out. It's weighted. So this is like my armor. I was thinking the other day, I felt uncomfortable when I went out. Where was I going to the grocery store or something? And I really wanted my jacket because I was like, oh, it just feels like protection. So I'm wearing my protection. Sounds funny. I'm wearing my protective force field today because I'm just needing a little bit of extra sensory input from my body. So yeah, where was I found myself here. My ex-husband and I, we were together for almost 17 years. So we dated for 4 years. And then we're married for almost 13. We got married right out of college. I was 21. And then I had my daughter when I was 24 and my son when I was 27. So we started life quickly and had children at a pretty young age. And I did a lot of my life in those the 20s, right? So I have a lot of friends now who are just starting to settle down and have kids and get into their career. And it's like, or I guess they more so got into their career in their 20s and now are kind of doing the kid family thing. And I kind of did it reverse. I did kid family and now still being a mom is my top priority, but I am also getting to grow a business on my own, which is one of the coolest things I've ever done. I love being a mom on the spectrum. I love this community and I'm grateful every day to be here. So, how did I know it was time to start dating, to putting myself back out there? It's so scary because even before I got married, I didn't really date. So, my ex-husband and I, we started dating when I was 16. And I didn't date it. I mean, if we're counting the boyfriends, like when you're 13, I had a boyfriend when I was 13, okay? But like my ex-husband was really the only person I've ever really dated. So I started dating him when I was 16 and then saw him exclusively until we got married when I was 21. Yeah, so dating was, the idea of it was so scary to me. Well, life has a funny way of just connecting you with the right people at the right time. And one of my friends from when I was younger, let's see, I'll keep people anonymous on here. We'll call her Lindsay. Okay. So Lindsay and I were friends when I was in high school, and she's kind of like a mentor figure to me through my church. But she was only a couple years older than me. And she had gone through a divorce when I was having kids, and I was a new mom. And admittedly, I was not a good friend during that time. I did not reach out to her. And I feel sad about that, processing it here on my YouTube video. Anyway, so we kind of lost touch because I was new mom. My kids didn't sleep through the night until they were 7 months old, 9 months old, both my kids. So I was sleep deprived, and one of my good friends was going through a divorce. Well, I reached out to her when I started going through the divorce process because it is like world upending. I mean, there's no solid ground anywhere. And I mean, on that note, I guess this is kind of just a lot of stuff about divorce, but there's people that you lose in the process too. It's not just your partner, it's friends. And there are friends along the way who, like friends that I really had a connection and relationship with that didn't reach out. And I know what that feels like now. You know, I did this. I can see now, like with my friend Lindsay, I wish I would have reached out, because if you have friends going through a divorce, reach out. It is like so freaking hard. It is. There's nothing like it. I don't know how else to say it other than when you separate two lives, it is like ridiculously difficult and insanely complicated, especially when there are kids. It's just freaking hard. And actually, I'm still dealing with the separation of all of that. Like this week, I think I finally got it to where all of my utilities only have my name on it and not my ex-husband. So it takes so long just to extricate yourself from that relationship. Anyways, so lost some friends in the process. There's also friends during the process who reached out, and the way it came across is like they just wanted the story, right? They just wanted the story of what happened. And they got the story, and then I didn't hear back from them, so that sucked too. But we're talking about dating. So I was feeling very alone because I started seeing my friendships in a different light too, just in terms of how people related to me and supported me or didn't support me. I reached out to my friend Lindsay, who had been through a divorce years earlier. Maybe at this point, I think it was like 7 years before this. Oh my goodness. So we hadn't been in touch in a long time. And so she was wonderful. It was one of those things where we got Mexican food, of course, because that's my favorite. And there was a lot of like, wow, oh my gosh, like, how did you get here? Because my relationship with my ex-husband, we were kind of like everybody thought we were the couple to be. And I don't say that arrogantly. It's like we were the first ones. We went to TCU together. We were already a couple when we got to TCU. All of the friends we made at TCU kind of saw us as this couple who had been together a long time. We had stuff figured out. We were going to go into ministry together. We were, we had our like careers kind of figured out together in ministry. In that world, that's another story. We got married before any of our friends. We had kids before any of our friends. And we were always in front of everyone, like especially at church, we did youth ministry and we were on the stage doing funny skits, and it was like, oh, it's Scott and Taylor, we were that couple. And so there was a lot of shock. So Lindsay and I caught up and we said, hey, let's get together again because there's a lot to process, right? So we put another date on the calendar. I think I got Mexican food again, but it was it was a cool place in Grapevine, Texas. If you ever visit, there's a big food hall with different options. Anyway, that's not important. So Lindsay and I met back up and we were talking and kind of finding our groove again. And she was like, you should download the dating apps. And my heart just kind of stopped. I was like, wait, what? Oh my gosh. That's for like people on TV. That's for like people in the movies. Like, I'm a mom, okay? And I'm busy and I have stuff to do, and like, who are these people on the apps? Who are they? She was like, oh, you should start with Bumble. Just download Bumble. Just download it. And I was like, I don't know. That's wild. That's a little wild for me. So this was, I should mention that during the process of separation and filing for divorce, finalizing the divorce, that whole process was like, I had days where, and I think I've said it before in videos, but this behind me is just like a long hallway from my front door to the back of my living room. I had days where I just remember pacing that hallway and I just was glazed over and nothing made sense. And there were days that I just lost. Like, I would get the kids to school and then I don't think I did anything. At one point, my stomach just growled. I don't know if you could hear that. I forgot to eat lunch. Interoception. There was those like crystal crafts, like where it's kind of like a mosaic and there's like hundreds or thousands of beads that you put in squares. And I remember just zoning out and I would do that for hours and hours and hours. And this is funny looking back on it. I actually watched a show called Couples Therapy. And I think it originally aired on Showtime, but it's legitimately a couples therapist, Dr. Goralnik, who's fabulous. And like, it would be a dream to have her on the channel. I've thought about it. I should reach out and see if there's any hope or prayer. But I would watch these couples in like marriage therapy and be processing my own while just sitting there zoning out doing this mosaic. So there were months of that, where I wasn't even thinking about dating. It was just, how do I survive? How do I create a new life for myself? How do I put clothes on today? How do I get the kids to school today? How do I feed myself today? There were months and months of that where nothing felt real, and everything felt hard. Yes. So this was months and months after that. And I remember I left that lunch with Lindsay and I just felt kind of like, it couldn't hurt anything. It won't hurt to download the app. I don't have to swipe right on anybody, whatever. And I was really curious just to see what's out there, right? But part of the reason, so I went home and I downloaded Bumble. Okay. So this was after my lunch with Lindsay. She's responsible for this madness. And she knows she is. And she elected herself to be my dating coach. We laugh about it now. We found ourselves in a very different mentor-mentee relationship from our earlier years together. So I get on Bumble. I think you have to make a profile in order to see people who are on it. So I made a profile. Oh my gosh. I don't even really think I had many pictures. Like I had to take pictures because, all my pictures are with my ex and my kids, and like, who is Taylor on her own? Who is Taylor? I don't know. It sounded funny, like a nursery rhyme or something. But what I was going to say is the reason I even got to this point is because, and I'm really, really grateful for this. I want to stress this point because I think it's so important for women. Women stay in relationships that they don't want to be in. I'm speaking generally right now. I think there's research on this. Don't quote me on this. Oh, I have a new camera and it tracks me. I don't want you to track me. Okay, hang on. And now I have to make it zoom in. Oh my gosh, y'all bear with me. Okay, stop. I'm a YouTuber, but like I'm not that tech savvy. I'm learning. Okay, so one of the number one reasons that women stay in relationships that they don't want to be in is lack of financial independence. It's huge, right? And especially for neurodivergent parents. When you have neurodivergent kids, you need each other so desperately, right? It's hard to even imagine life without the other person because there's so much support that needs to happen. Okay, well, I had only really ever worked part-time and for myself because I was a flute teacher. So I taught private flute lessons and I could organize my schedule however I wanted to, which was really nice. I did it for the flexibility because my priority has always been I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom who worked, right? So my priority was with the kids, getting them to wherever they needed to be and school activities, all of that. So I taught flute lessons. I got to get my brain back with me. And okay, so I had that going for me, and I could have built that into a career, but this was also right around the time that I was learning that I was autistic, and my career wasn't really working for me in terms of my autistic needs. And I have another video over that under the Autism in the Workplace playlist that I've got. So there was this point, and this was terrifying. This was in the middle of my divorce. I had to decide, am I going to start a new career? And I was thinking about software development. So kind of when my marriage was falling apart, I was taking software development classes and I got certified in front-end development. I was working on React, building React components, and I actually built my first my first Mom on the Spectrum website. I actually built that from scratch. Like I coded the whole entire thing, not even using build like pre-made components or whatever. I like literally made it from scratch. I was so proud of it. And that's what my current, no, we're not going to do that. Don't do this, you guys. Okay. That's what my current website is based off of. Okay. So am I going to throw myself into a totally new career? Because I was learning that teaching flute lessons was not where I wanted to be, and it wasn't conducive to single mom life, because I had to find a career that was going to be, this is driving me crazy, that was going to be more conducive to staying at home or to taking care of my kids as a single mom. So am I going to be a software developer? Or I had made a couple of videos on YouTube talking about my autism diagnosis, and it was growing. Okay. It was growing, but it wasn't anywhere close to what it is today. It was a baby channel. So proud of it, but it wasn't like, hey, this is a surefire way to earn a living, So am I going to throw myself into software development or throw myself into the channel and bet on myself? And it was one of those, this is a longer video than I thought it would be. It was one of those things that I just knew that I was supposed to do this channel. I was meant to do it. And I was meant to just trust the process of it. I went to the bank one day. I think I was getting some money out of the ATM or something, and somebody had written on one of the bank envelopes, it's on my fridge, on my refrigerator still, "What is meant for you will find itself." I know the grammar's a little bit weird on that. What is meant for you will find itself. And it was on one particular day when I was just in the crux of like, what am I supposed to do? And I just knew, like, if I was going to follow the flow of what was feeling right in my life, it was to bet on myself. And so I went all in on the channel, started posting more, started creating resources that people could download that helped me start developing a passive income. And y'all, it was slow at first. Okay. People think, oh, it's so fun to be a YouTuber. You don't get paid forever. And when you do start getting paid, it is very minimal. I mean, like, I think I went back, I was working on a presentation for Career Day at my kid's school. My first paycheck was $50 from YouTube. And then the next month, I think it was $100 or $200. And it's, it's still, I definitely have to have other sources of income, other revenue streams. My brain's wanting to make so many videos off of this. I want to help women learn how to make money, okay, so that you can be financially independent. And I guess that's where this tangent started. I had to start making money for myself. So that was very scary because up until this point, I had only ever really worked part-time because I had kids so young. So, women, it is so important, whether you're in or not in a committed relationship, to create a path towards financial independence for yourself, for now and forevermore. And I want to scream this from the rooftops for us and for our children, for our daughters. Learn how to make yourself financially independent. And it is possible. Let me tell you, I know it's overwhelming and daunting, but there are so many ways to create money, especially online. I don't want this video to get too long, so I won't go into how to do that here, but maybe we can do another one of these videos on how to do that. But it is so important for you to find how to make money on your own. And once I started doing that, the channel just, I started betting on myself, and the channel just started taking off. And I started gradually adding in different sources of revenue, like downloadable content, running classes, running support groups, which that's wild, running support groups whenever you're going through something like divorce. And I think the only reason they worked, and they worked really well, is that I was honest about the difficult stuff I was going through. And I wasn't there to show everybody how to be okay. I was there to show everybody that it's okay to not be okay, and we're in it together, right? So you don't have to fake being okay when you're not. It is possible to make money in really difficult situations, because I did. And if I can do it, you can do it. It's just, that's how it is. So I started making money for myself. I started feeling this freedom of, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. And it honestly came a lot more easily than I thought it would, because I was terrified. I was terrified. That's such a strong word. I don't know that I was terrified of life after divorce. I knew it would be a huge change, but I knew that I could trust myself. I know that I'm a hard worker. I know that I love my kids more than anything, that I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that they have everything that they need. So I knew that I could bet on myself, but I was exhausted and I was in burnout, and I still had to wake up every day and get them to school. So for a while, I didn't do anything. I just existed and got the kids to school, made their lunches, got them back from school. That feels like that was a long chapter of my life. Okay. So started becoming financially independent. That was the huge key to success, because then it didn't feel like, and this is really what I think so many women need in order to start dating. I could date not from a place of clinginess, of like, oh my gosh, where is my partner that's going to help me make ends meet and pay the bills and, help me with all this extra stuff. I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for somebody that I had to cling on to and be like, please help me. I need you. I was looking to explore and to get to know another person, to get to know myself more through the lens of a relationship, or not even just a relationship, but dating, through getting to know different people. Again, I'd never dated before other than my ex-husband. And so dating was this incredible opportunity to go out and actually meet people. I didn't even really go out much in college because I was so involved in my church stuff that some weeks I was up at church like 4 nights a week, and then I was in marching band. So I didn't go out. Like I wasn't meeting new people. I I had my band group, which I love, and they are so important to me, and I am grateful for those times. But dating has been this opportunity to go actually see what's out there. How there are so many different ways to live life, and that has been so baffling to me. There are so many different ways to live life, and I've gone on dates with several, maybe many people, okay? Just if nothing else, just to go out and meet somebody and have a meal. And I've been able to keep it like that to where, yeah, okay, sure, let's go grab a meal. It's non-committal. It's not like I want to date you. It's like, hey, let's talk about who we are and what we're looking for. And more often than not, it didn't lead to anything. It was just an opportunity to get out of the house whenever I didn't have the kids, which was huge because that has been the hardest thing for me post-divorce is not having my kids all the time. So I have them 60% of the time, but when they're not here, it's hard. And I have to schedule things to keep myself busy because, yeah, it's freaking hard. So it became a way to like, okay, well, I'm home alone because my kids aren't here. So who wants to go out to dinner, And a lot of times I'd have the dinner paid for, and that was kind of fun. And then a lot of times I would leave thinking, wow, that was awkward. That was weird. That was like, I remember there was this one person I went out to dinner with, and they were an infectious disease doctor. And I was so ready to be enthralled. I was so ready to be like, talk my ear off about everything you've learned and seen and all the wild stories you have. He was maybe the most boring person I've ever met in my life. Wild. So anyways, I learned about a lot of different walks of life. I learned a lot about myself, and it was this experience of, with each new person I interacted with, it was another opportunity to explore different sides of myself. It's been so important in the context of unmasking as an autistic person. And this is all, the edges of all this are so blurred because I got my diagnosis around the same time as the divorce, was processing new career. So I'm learning how to unmask who is Taylor, what does Taylor want, what does she need? And that's been a really important thing for me to develop on the other side of my marriage is, what do I actually want? What do I actually need? Because I got married so young and was kind of handed this formula of what life is supposed to look like. But I never asked myself, what do I want it to look like? What does Taylor want? What does Taylor need? And so dating has been a really scary, fun, exhilarating way to figure out, what do I actually want? What do I actually need? What makes me happy? And I know dating can feel so overwhelming, but it's actually, in a lot of ways, been a really enlightening way. I feel like I've said it a lot of times, like just to learn about myself, to explore. And if you do it safely, dating apps, you can message each other for a while before you ever get together in person. You can FaceTime each other before you ever get together in person. You can, share. My two best friends always have my location. My GPS sharing is on all the time. There are ways to do it safely to where, like, yeah, just go out and have coffee with someone. That might be the end of it. And I've loved it. It's been a great way to see different parts of my city. And it just feels so good knowing that I don't need another person to make me happy, but I have been able to find happiness on my own, and I want to share that with someone. That is so empowering. I don't need another person to pay my bills. I've learned how to do that on my own, and I want to share my life with someone. It's not a bad thing to have somebody else come in and help you. That's a beautiful thing. We don't need to be hyper independent of and that's something I work on because I like being hyper independent. I have my avoidant attachment style that I'm not necessarily proud of, but comfortable with. And it's not about this hyper independence of I don't need a partner. It's approaching it from a different perspective of, if and when I do find that partner, I am complete on my own, and I can share my complete self with another person who also feels complete on their own, right? That's been important for me as well. When there's another person who doesn't feel that way, there's a clinginess of them needing you, right? They will drain you of your energy and time and resources because they need you to feel like they're okay. But when you find another person who's comfortable on their own and comfortable taking care of themselves and happy with who they are as a person, then you two can come together and create some really wonderful experiences because you're not taking the life force out of each other. You're sharing your life force with them and receiving theirs in return. So anyways, yeah, that's a little bit about dating and life post-divorce. And I just want to say, if you're out there and you're in a similar situation, I know how scary it is. I know how overwhelming it is. But at the end of the day, you have yourself and you are strong. I know you are. You're a fighter. You are capable. You're confident. The dead ends that you feel like you might be running into right now, honestly, if you can see them as opportunities for creativity, for approaching things with a different perspective, it can blow your world open in the best way. So embrace those setbacks as opportunities for growth. Cry your heart out when you need to. Ask for help as much as you can, and know that you can trust yourself and it's going to be okay. All right. Thanks for watching. Check out this jacket. Seriously, you guys know I don't like promoting stuff unless I love it. I live in this jacket. It's my special protective armor that keeps me safe, and I always know where it is unless I don't, because I take it everywhere and sometimes I forget where it is, but I always try to know where it is. And okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.